Aitsquecho CMCA Naquilia. Aitsquecho CMCA Nashwalaqua. Aitska CMT Squecho Naquilia. Namakwa Tsalaquangan Tanuch. Namakwa na I Aimat Laquangan Hasa. So good day, my dear friends, and good day, my dear family. Thank you all for sharing this time with us together, and welcome you to the Place to Smoke Herring lands and the sacred waters of the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. Aitskasiya. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in celebrating the 16th Annual Premier's Awards for Innovation and Excellence in the BC Public Service. For over 130 years, BC Public Service employees have consistently demonstrated excellence in innovation, teamwork, and leadership. Today is an opportunity to recognise those dedicated individuals and teams who strive to improve the lives of British Columbians. This year we received an impressive 117 nominations in 8 different categories from all parts of BC. Following the nominations, 12 public sector, business and community leaders from across the province were appointed as judges and adjudicators. They were challenged with the task of rating nominations and selecting finalists. First, the adjudicators complete a comprehensive review of all the nominations to create a shortlist for the provincial awards ceremony. Then the judges review the shortlist and select the finalists and award recipients in each category. The exception is the Emerging Leader category, which is chosen by an online vote in which BC Public Service employees vote for their favourite among the finalists. Today we celebrate the successes of 26 provincial finalists and recipients in the categories of Emerging Leader, Evidence-Based Design, Innovation, Leadership, Organizational Excellence, Partnership, Legacy, and the newest category of Regional Impact. Before we continue, here are some of the lighter moments we captured while filming this year's Premier's Awards.
1, 2, 3, and then really excited.
Oh my God. Collaborative. It's a hummingbird.
Start again. Okay.
It's just like the freestyle part of the
pressure.
We're improvising here, it's okay.
And they'd have to then, I have to start kidding. You make, I know. She was smiling away and I thought, this is so fun.
They're like, get this guy off the stage.
An example of Jordana's leadership is blah, blah, blah. When I write, I'm much more articulate.
Okay, there we go. I won't ramble on. Yeah.
What's this nomination for?
That wasn't the first question you sent me.
What is Service BC?
All right. One moment, please.
So we were able to provide cut, edit, whatever.
And it was such a different way of doing business.
He made me cry. Not like he wasn't mean to me. I was crying because I was talking about how much I love Jordana.
I hate talking about myself.
And now, please join me in welcoming the Deputy to the Premier and Head of the BC Public Service, Laurie Wanamaker.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 16th Annual Premier's Innovation and Excellence Awards for the BC Public Service. As the video we watched clearly demonstrates, this is going to be an incredibly special, albeit unique event. Thank you, Bradley, for welcoming us to the territory of the Lekwungen peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. I'm honored to serve as the host of this ceremony. Every day I see the incredible work public servants do, and it's a privilege to be able to recognize your work in this special way. A career in the public service is the most direct way to serve our communities and society as a whole. 2020 has been a very difficult year. COVID-19 has challenged our lives in many ways, great and small. Through some very dark days, the BC Public Service has persevered. We've been talented, innovative, and professional, and have continued to serve the people of BC with our characteristic dedication. It is in this crisis that the role of the professional public service has never felt more important. This work requires a willingness to set aside our individual views or agendas in favor of serving the public interest. The ceremony will be an embodiment and recognition of the great work that happens when we work towards a common goal. Your commitment to serving the province and its people has been invaluable. British Columbia would not be weathering the pandemic storm so successfully without the combined efforts of all public servants. Despite the challenges we have faced this year, the finalists profiled today reinforce our ongoing commitment to integrity. Your passion, dedication, and commitment are all an inspiration. This year's Premier's Awards ceremony looks a little different than it has in the past. As we continue to navigate the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and follow the direction of our Provincial Health Officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, to limit large gatherings, this year's ceremony is being streamed without an in-person audience. Although we can't be together in person, I nonetheless feel it's important to take this time to acknowledge the work of our exceptional finalists in this most exceptional of times. So welcome to everyone watching from the office or home, whether you are colleagues, friends, or families of the finalists. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the 12 adjudicators and judges who picked the best of the best from 117 nominations this year. This year's judging panel included Alan Seckel, CEO, Doctors of BC, Celeste Haldane, Chief Commissioner, BC Treaty Commission, Deborah Saucier, President and Vice Chancellor, Vancouver Island University, Denise Williams, CEO, First Nations Technology Council, and Stacey Ross, Anchor Czech News. And members of this year's adjudicators panel, Bert Phipps, former Assistant Deputy Minister, Bert Phipps Consulting, Clint Fraser, CEO, Northern BC Tourism Association, Dick Vollett, President and CEO, St. Paul's Hospital Foundation, Fiona Whittington Walsh, President, Inclusion BC, Janessa Greening, President and CEO, BC Women's Health Foundation, Terry Young, Chair, Board of Directors Success, and Tracy Herbert, CEO, First Peoples Cultural Council. To our judges and adjudicator, thank you for contributing your expertise to the selection process. Now let me share a few more details about this afternoon's proceedings. Today we'll be introduced to finalists in the following categories: evidence-based design, emerging leader, organizational excellence, innovation, leadership, partnership, and the newly created regional impact. For each category, the 2019 awards recipients or a member of the recipient team will introduce the category by video message. We'll show the videos of the finalists in each category, and then the Premier will announce the 2020 recipient. Once again, this year, all of the videos were produced entirely by the BC Public Service employees. We will also be showcasing this year's Legacy and BC Public Service Hall of Excellence recipients. The Legacy Award recognizes individuals who have made exceptional and lasting contributions to the BC Public Service and the province of British Columbia during a public service career of at least 15 years. The BC Public Service Hall of Excellence Award follows the same criteria as the Legacy Award. However, induction into the Hall of Excellence represents the highest form of recognition that the BC Public Service can extend to its employees. Finally, before we get to this afternoon's awards, we would like to take this moment to recognize the incredible work accomplished within the BC Public Service in response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The COVID-19 pandemic profoundly changed every aspect of our lives in British Columbia and around the world. Together, we've all learned more about pandemics than we ever imagined we'd want to know. We've reduced our social circles, while in some ways strengthening our ties to one another all the more. We've set aside many of the routines and rituals of daily life and developed new ones.
We sadly have had one additional death.
We've shared in stories of sorrow and loss, but also of courage and community. And we've learned that the surest way to get through it is to get through it together. Amidst all of that, from the very beginning, the work of the BC Public Service has continued, unwavering and undaunted in the midst of an unprecedented challenge. Thousands of you adjusted to new safety measures so you could continue providing the frontline services British Columbians rely on. In many cases more than ever, as the pandemic impacted their lives. Thousands more learned to adapt to working remotely at a scale we've never seen before, while we developed plans to ensure our workplaces would be safe. The expertise of our public health teams laid the foundation for a provincial response that has saved lives across BC. You developed new policies and programs to help our communities and our economy prepare to weather the immediate and long-term impacts of the pandemic. You volunteered to take on new roles, like ensuring returning travellers got the advice and resources they needed to keep themselves safe and limit the spread of the virus. When British Columbia needed you most, you were there. When government looked to you for your expertise, professionalism, and commitment to guide our province through, you were there. The public service has proven its value to our province yet again. On behalf of more than 5 million British Columbians, thank you.
Please join me in welcoming the Premier of British Columbia, John Horgan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to be on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. Thank you to the new head of the public service, Laurie Wanamaker, for starting us off in such a good way. Today, we celebrate BC's professional public service, the people that are committed to making our lives better here and everywhere in this province. It's been a particularly difficult year because of COVID-19, but you all stepped up, put in the long hours, put your minds to the problems that we've never contemplated before, and you made a difference in people's lives. We called on you to innovate, to completely rebuild and retool how we address issues here in BC. Your work has improved the way we serve British Columbians. But this isn't new to government employees. In fact, you've been doing this well before the pandemic, and you'll continue to do it long after we get through this dark period in our history. Today, we celebrate the work and honor your leadership. You helped us make history by passing the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act. You found homes for some of the most vulnerable people in our province. You improved the way British Columbians access the services they need, and you mentored and supported your colleagues, building the professional public service each and every day. Your passion and dedication strengthen our province and make us better people. Congratulations to everyone who is a recipient tonight and for all of those who have been nominated. You've all set a high standard of excellence for public service, and you've inspired your co-workers to do their best. On behalf of all British Columbians, thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Alan Johnsrud, Regional Executive Director for the Ministry of Forest Lands, Natural Resource Operations, and Rural Development. My colleagues and I were very pleased to receive last year's Premier's Award for Evidence-Based Design that recognized our work in developing the Stewardship Baseline Objectives tool. The Evidence-Based Design category recognizes public service employees whose work is outstanding in the area of evidence-based or evidence-informed policy or program development. Evidence-based approaches are important in building and maintaining trust in the public service, and something that can showcase the talents of our colleagues. I'm very pleased to introduce the 2020 Premier's Awards finalists for evidence-based design.
Biosimilar is a class of drugs that are essentially identical copies of biologic drugs. So biologic drugs are complex drugs that are injected. And so they're different than chemical drugs, which are usually given by mouth. And the special thing about biosimilars is essentially they're the same as biologics, but they cost significantly less.
The Biosimilars project was unique in Canada. We were the first jurisdiction to launch coverage of biosimilars and to encourage switching via policy from the originator biologic to a biosimilar option. We asked prescribers, patient groups, pharmacists, what help they would need. As such, we were able to take all that feedback in and roll it out into a successful switching project.
First of all, biologics are very important therapies for people with severe chronic conditions like rheumatoid arthritis and gastrointestinal diseases. I think this is really important because drug sustainability is a real issue, not only in British Columbia, but in Canada. Drugs are becoming more and more expensive. There's precision medicine, and we have to do whatever we can to ensure sustainability, to make sure that people have therapies for the long term.
This type of initiative has been in place in Europe for many years. The clinical evidence supports use of biosimilars. But in Canada and North America, this was a new initiative. And so we knew that in order for this to be a success, to have the patients transition, not to have negative impact on the patients or their prescribers, we need to engage many different stakeholders and work with them to bring this to fruition.
Since the Ministry of Health has launched its biosimilar policy, we've had very strong support. Close to 75 to 80% of the patients that were on the originator have switched over to the biosimilars. At the same time, we've also been able to cover a few new products as well, a few new drug products, and expand the coverage of drugs as well, and provide additional services for patients.
I think what I'd like to see is biosimilars become almost akin to generics, where a lower priced biosimilar is introduced onto the market, that we will just automatically switch patients onto it and not offer the originator product.
For patients switching from the originator to the biosimilar, all the science suggests there should be no difference in terms of efficacy or safety. We needed a way to encourage patients to switch from the originator product to the biosimilar brand. To do that, we needed help from prescribers, patients, and pharmacists all across BC. And this project was really needed to capture those savings and allow us to reinvest in other medications for all British Columbians.
E-ticketing is very different than the old system, and what would happen at roadside is an officer would write out a ticket and there'd be 5 carbon copies along with that ticket. Each of those copies would then be sent to our road safety partners, who would then have to re-input that data into their systems.
I think what wasn't working in the old system was ways of measuring our performance in a timely manner. Often that the ticket information was left on the ticket. It didn't go to any database where we can make some decisions. Many of the tickets, the offenses, are often wrong offense codes. We would get them canceled, and we want to have every ticket stand up.
So with e-ticketing, the ticket still has a paper ticket, but the paper ticket comes from the equipment that's actually in the vehicle of the officer, and it gets immediately sent to ICBC, to our provincial databases, as well as our government systems.
Some of the biggest challenges for this project was not only the system stuff, but there was a lot of policy consultation that we had to do. And then we also had challenging partners. Police are used to working a certain way and doing things a certain way, but they were looking towards the future and they wanted to improve their processes. So we worked really hard with everyone meeting almost daily so that they could give us the information that we needed to improve the product that they were using.
So as we onboard each police detachment, it's really exciting and satisfying to see those tickets come in. We have a team that is translating the data that comes immediately from roadside out to all of the different organizations. We know that we're successful as soon as that first ticket is issued. We can see it across all the partner systems. That data set is going to be invaluable for so many different organizations to improve programs in real time using real evidence.
The 3 E's are for road safety: education, engineering, and enforcement. This piece has certainly helped the enforcement side. What I really appreciated was the data that we were able to collect from e-ticketing. It helped us both administratively and running the team, but it also provided us some business intelligence when it came to putting the cops on the dots, the collisions, and where we're doing our enforcement. Not all of the agencies were entering paper tickets onto Prime, and now it's right there.
What we do is we look at trends in our e-ticketing project. We look at how can we actually help citizens of BC to feel safer on the roads, and the way we think we can do that is by getting that timely information, that data to our partners, working with our partners to make sure that those roads are as safe as they can be.
What prompted the need for the Q was our desire to become a best-in-class service delivery organization. We wanted to understand better the services that we provide to our citizens and how we can plug in continuous improvement and help our client ministries to better connect with the people that they serve. This project is innovative because no other organization, no other business intelligence technology can tell you the demand on government services. We can now understand what the people of British Columbia are coming into Service BC for and how we can influence the service experience.
Service BC always had a need for a queue management system as well as for analytics about its services, because as an organization, Service BC doesn't own any of the services it delivers. Services are owned by partner ministries, and so it's very important to have analytics about the services that are provided. We have tried various systems in the past to track this information, and we've tried queue management systems. The analytics that they were giving us were not necessarily very accurate. Service BC delivers hundreds of services, so customizing an off-the-shelf product was very difficult for us. So having an inside-built solution would allow us to have solution just for us and would allow us to also have it way more cost-effective than we could ever do otherwise.
The data that we're collecting in this project is related to service demands. It's all about the citizen or business. As they come into Service BC, we want to know exactly how long they waited, what program they accessed, and did they get what they needed. And so the data that we provide is layered. So we have data for frontline supervisors, directors, and executives. It's visualized on dashboards, and individuals can see exactly what's happening on the ground in any one of our 65 offices.
So the real-time data helped us in a lot of different ways. Understanding everybody's needs were a little bit different in different offices. That was a big challenge. Some of our offices are really small and some of them are really large. And it became very evident that we needed different types of analytics based on their type of office, as well as the different usage of the queue itself.
The project is very important to the ministry and to the BC Public Service as a whole, because it's not just a queue management program and it's not just analytics. A very important piece of work was the ability to book appointments for citizens, which has become of critical importance during COVID, of course, when now citizens can actually book appointments online in order to visit a Service BC office and obtain their service that they are looking for.
The biggest thing that we strove for is using our service framework, and that's putting the citizen in the center. And having those DevOps type infrastructure to allow for that was critical.
I can tell you that the queue has been a game changer for Service BC. Real-time analytics, we've never had it. And it's fantastic in terms of helping citizens eliminate bottlenecks and improve our services.
And the Premier's Award for Evidence-Based Design goes to Modernizing the Service Journey and Service Data Analytics, the Queue Customer Flow Management System from the Ministry of Citizen Services. Congratulations. I'd also like to congratulate the other finalists, Enabling Electronic Ticketing through Agile and Service Design, and the Biosimilars Initiative.
Hello everyone, my name is Kaylee West and I'm a social worker for the Ministry of Children and Family Development. I was deeply grateful to receive last year's Premier Award for Emerging Leader. Criteria for the Emerging Leader category includes demonstrating superior informal leadership, including innovative problem-solving, team building, collaboration, and a strong client service orientation, showing a commitment to building a strengthened organizational culture of diversity, engagement, and service, embodying the BC Public Service values, and actively mentoring and supporting new leaders entering the BC Public Service. It is now my honor to present the 2020 Premier's Award finalists for Emerging Leader.
I work as a manager of complaints for the Employment Standards Branch. I lead a team of officers and support staff to manage and resolve wage complaints filed under the Employment Standards Act. My team would probably describe my leadership style and my colleagues having a real collaborative approach.
Well, we're back at it for a weekly Scrum meeting here.
And so just trying to bring people together, have them collaborate to identify a problem, come up with sort of solutions to that problem and eventually solve it.
Tyler's work has had a massive impact on the citizens of BC. We are transforming the employment standard system, which covers 80% of workers in this province. We have complaints that come in from workers, and he has piloted a new triage system for the complaints process to make it more seamless for workers to get their issues addressed by the Employment Standards Branch. Tyler has a number of strengths that were perfect for this project. First of all, he's super innovative, no fear about trying something new. But also because he started at the organization at the entry level, he's been able to work his way through the organization and has great credibility with his colleagues in terms of understanding the system and how it works.
We really needed someone who really can bring subject matter expertise and also connect people together. And he's an exceptional communicator. He really does meet people where they are. He's able to really listen well and hear other perspectives, and because of that, he really is able to quickly identify challenges and then move to solutions really quickly as well.
I'm very much into sort of having group discussions, having group thought when it comes to resolving problems. So what I brought to our management team now is more so an approach that doesn't forget about others. I'm not one that's always going to have the answer. So it's always good to bounce ideas around with your staff and how to approach certain concerns that may exist sort of in the organization.
Tyler is a guy that comes to work almost always with a smile on his face. He's a father of 3 young boys. He is a person who really does, I think, get the most out of life, and that really shows up at the workplace, and he always tries to find the upside in circumstances, even when it's pretty dark, and I really do think he lifts other people up.
The work-life balance, it's getting more challenging as you become a young leader, and it's trying to find what's striking the right balance. For me, I commit Monday to Friday to the work, and then on weekends, I do shut it off on Saturdays and Sundays, and that's the family time. I'm very happy where I'm at. I'm still a young manager. I have lots to learn. So I want to be able to have an impact at Employment Standards. It's important work for British Columbians, and so for me, it's helping our branch go through that transformation that's currently underway and contributing any way that I can in order to get the results that we want to see.
My role with the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions is really about building and maintaining strong relationships with our First Nations and Métis partners. And so our approach is really grounded in the belief that First Nations and Métis people are in the best position to make decisions about their people. And so that really drives us, and that drives me in the work that we do, and we make sure that that's at the forefront of decisions that we make as a ministry.
Matthew brings a collaborative approach to his work in everything he does. Our ministry is an interesting position of being very small and being set up entirely to work across other ministries, across the health and social sector, and with Indigenous partners. Collaboration is the key to everything we do, and you can't survive without it. And certainly Matthew embodies that in everything he does and creates the opportunities to have the dialogues that create the outcomes for us.
In our work of leadership, you have to be able to listen. Matthew knows how to listen, And he's grown as a direct result of all of his work with the First Nations Health Council and the First Nations Health Authority. The beauty of where he is now is he has an opportunity to take that learning and influence the provincial government and the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions.
Well, I would say that he is, he's quiet and he can be private, but he has actually a really good sense of humor.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I'm going to get a couple coffees. Who wants a coffee? Mocha? Frappuccino? Cappuccino? Muffin? Nick, get you a muffin? No muffins? Okay.
For me, an emerging leader is one that you can look forward and see them growing into future leadership roles.
Now, I know you said you didn't want coffees, but figured I'd pick them up anyways. Just trying to anticipate, boss.
He's a quiet leader in his approach to things, and he needs to, I think, reflect on things sometimes, so he'll often sit back and think a little bit before kind of jumping to a response, because he's willing to challenge the status quo. He's willing to ask questions about why we're doing something this way, or if you think about the broader strategic goals of government in terms of making lives better for people, making lives more affordable, our broad commitment to reconciliation. I mean, he embodies all of those things in the work that he does.
I really try to paint a picture of where we as government want and need to go. And so I really see my role and I see my leadership style as someone who can make a meaningful difference. And so I really look at my role in the public service, I look at my leadership role in the public service as really that opportunity to make meaningful change.
Currently, I'm the acting manager of maintenance programs for the province, so I look after the road and bridge contract, the electrical maintenance contract, and our pavement marking contracts. I have found that I do enjoy the day-to-day challenge of working in our districts. Every day is different, and you deal with lots of demands, tons of learning, tons of opportunity to get out of your comfort zone.
I think Katie's impact on our teams is really building on a lot of the strengths she has. We have an area of the province that has one of the youngest workforces in terms of administering some pretty major contracts, and they do it, I would suggest, some of the best across the province. And clients hold us very accountable. They have very high expectations, as they should.
And then the north end of Kootenay Lake, that's another really cool spot up there.
And so I would say the accomplishments that I saw from Katie was really transitioning those contractors successfully while managing all the day-to-day operations in a region of the province that's always exceptionally busy.
Well, I think we found Katie to be quite innovative and very responsive to our needs and thinking of things, outside the box, I guess, if you will, in terms of managing some of the unique aspects of our business and something that's going to work for the interests of the ministry as well as our company. And she keeps us up to date and, apprised of the issues.
The one thing that I would hope that people see about me or know about me is that I really am here for the people I work with and the work that we do. The piece geographically is very large. It has, I believe, about 5,000 road kilometers. Geologically speaking, there's a lot going on. So it's got the Peace River and a lot of slides that go with that. And it's got very vocal stakeholders that are passionate about the work we do. And I think when your staff are supported and feel valued, that they provide the best service that they can to the public.
Katie manages to use her charisma, her way about, just the way she carries herself in such a way that people can have an open, honest conversation and really get down to the nuts and bolts of what the issues are and hopefully solve the issues. And one of the things I found with her is she was able to use that charisma and a little bit of that just personality she has and likability to even sometimes give people the answers that they don't want to hear, but do it in a way where they feel like they've been heard.
The type of leader I aspire to be would be approachable, hopefully coming from a place of knowledge and thoughtfulness. It's not always easy. Sometimes you get a lot of challenges thrown at you in a short amount of time, and I've been pretty fortunate to have pretty great mentors. I do enjoy the day-to-day challenge of working in our districts. We're the front line for the public. I've learned a lot from all the people that we have on our teams.
So I'm currently a manager of service delivery with the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction, specializing in medical equipment, orthoses, bracing, CPAP. Yeah, so my leadership style, I like to be very collaborative. I think I like to be an authentic person, be genuine, try to engage and inspire my staff. They're the ones that inspire me to come into work every day and make sure that they're supported in the work that they do.
Our first topic is teamwork.
Jordana is approachable, very warm, very receptive to people. She makes you feel at ease when she's talking to you, and that's not always easy to do virtually. She came onto a team that was in its development stage, and there needed to be more cohesion, and then started right away in introducing changes.
Jordana's work has had a positive impact on our clients and citizens. She's done a fair amount of work improving vendor relationships, and since joining the team, she has improved service delivery timelines. Our clients are receiving items such as bracing for wheelchairs and bracing for their legs. What that means is that our clients actually get the services that they need that much quicker, and that's a huge win.
Well, I think this work is important because it's really making a difference for the citizens of British Columbia. It's really a matter of having that compassion and that empathy, and we're all in these positions with this ministry because we want to help people and give them a better life experience than they possibly have had, and making sure that they're getting the care that they desperately need and deserve.
Jordana is an inspiring leader. Seeing her have a high standard for the work that she does, I think has promoted the same thing for our team. We need dedicated public servants who have a high ethical and moral standard of conduct, and doing that job well and with heart. Not just because it's a job, but because they truly believe that the work that we do matters and makes a difference. And Jordana definitely models that.
I was lucky enough to just start a new role early this year during our COVID pandemic. And so I'm focusing on learning that role. I'm very happy with the ministry that I'm with right now, and I'm always up for new challenges.
Working for a leader like Jordana makes it a joy to come to work. And I can honestly say that Jordana is the best boss I've ever had, and that may sound cheesy to some, but she will go very far because her ability to see what others bring and bring others up to her level. That's how I know that she will just continue to rise throughout the ministry and throughout the government.
My role is as legal counsel in Legal Services Branch. Currently, I'm in the Information and Privacy Law Group, which advises on information, privacy, defamation, and a few other areas. Prior to that, though, I was legal counsel in the Assistant Deputy Attorney General's office.
Haley is a great addition to her team over at Legal Services. She came in, she was new, she was young, but even at that point, the team looked to her to provide answers because she's super bright, so she's just a different voice on her team.
I first started with the BC Public Service as an articled student, so right out of law school. It was a daunting experience, but it was so welcoming. I was in a position where I had people around me who wanted me to succeed. It just felt like home. And I knew I wanted to stay with the BC Public Service and wanted to exemplify what I found coming in with the mentorship, with the support.
Haley's leadership has actually extended throughout the organization. She has been a fantastic mentor and part of our articled student program for a number of years. And she is also responsible for an initiative that connects the ADAG's office with junior lawyers throughout the branch.
The values I strive to exemplify in my day-to-day work is one of an open and helpful colleague and advisor. The only way we move forward as a branch is to acknowledge all of the assets that everyone has and to not try and do everything on your own.
I think Hayley approaches people in a way that allows them to very easily both relate to her, trust her, and value her expertise. And when people have that level of trust, they're in a position where they can both learn from Hayley for what she has to offer, but also feel comfortable sharing with her in a way that helps both the organization and the people who she's mentoring's career development.
My work can often be challenging and hectic, and it just takes up so much of you in the day that when I come home, I need some way in which to turn off or to relax, and painting is the way that I do that. It is the way that I calm myself, the way that I can just turn off from work. I find that it's quite lovely.
I think Hayley's biggest accomplishment is probably the accomplishments of everyone else in government. She advises on a lot of files that are very important, and just her presence on those files, being there and being trusted as somebody who's looking out for government as a whole. Without Hayley's interventions on the legal front, I don't think we'd be doing a lot of the things we're doing in government right now.
Today we're at the James Bay Urgenton Primary Care Centre, and this is part of our primary care transformation. So our team works with health authorities, family doctors, and others to help support new primary care models. Primary care historically was a series of disconnected, like individual private businesses of family doctors. What we're trying to build is something similar to a school model, so integrated and working together and really developing plans for the population health needs within a geography.
Emma's role requires that she's able to go into some pretty difficult rooms, into pretty difficult meetings, and come out with good results. People are passionate about healthcare. They have their own views about how it needs to improve and can improve. Emma is good at bringing those views together, navigating all of that passion, navigating their different perspectives, and coming out of those situations with a positive path forward that people feel like they've been heard, they've been engaged, and they're able to move forward constructively.
I think the work that Emma's part of is really going to be the difference between having a doctor and not having a doctor. There's been a shortage of doctors for quite some time, and because of that, a lot of patients don't have access to primary care in a continuous way.
So why don't we see what folks have on their radar for this week?
And as the shortage of doctors becomes more acute, we need to find different solutions.
I've got some amazing skills amongst my team. They've got great attributes that they can bring to our work. So typically a problem or a project will land on us, and I bring everyone together and say, right, here is the situation. How are we all going to work together to solve it?
Emma's a mother of 2 young girls, and Emma tries hard. I know she tries hard to balance her work life and her personal life. I think as a leader, that is so important, that taking care of yourself, taking care of your family actually matters, and it improves the way that we work, and it improves our performance.
Working with Emma has been a positive experience. I would say that Emma has really fostered my growth as a leader, as well as it's been really wonderful getting to see Emma herself grow as she, over the last 4 years, has moved into different positions and grown into this truly fantastic leader that she is today.
I'm passionate about primary care. This is the place that I want to be. This is the work that I want to be doing. The work is fast-paced and dynamic and multifaceted, and there is never a dull moment, and I thrive in that kind of environment.
And the Premier's Award for Emerging Leader goes to Katie Ward from the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. Congratulations, Katie. I'd also like to acknowledge the finalists: Emma Isaac, Hayley Hill, Jordana Fradiani, Matt Kinch, and Tyler Sigmund.
Next, I am pleased to recognize the first of our 2 legacy recipients of the evening, Peter Watkins. Peter is not only receiving the Legacy Award, he is being inducted into the BC Hall of Excellence, which is the highest form of recognition an employee can receive. Congratulations, Peter.
Before I came to government, I worked as a software programmer for a small software company. I figured out that pursuing commercial gain just didn't motivate me as strongly. And when I came into government, I saw the opportunity to work on these enabling platforms and infrastructures that help thousands of people. And then I just found it's like, oh, I'm a public servant. I really enjoy working that way. You know, it's turned into a real passion that I have, where I'm motivated to find the good that good public service can do.
You know, I think it's important for Peter's contributions to the public service to be recognized as a legacy, because I really cannot think of any technology improvement or modern tool that doesn't trace back to Peter. Everything from how we have digital identity now and the digital identity architecture that's embedded in our BC Services card, which makes us really a national leader. The things that he brought into place saved time, saved money, saved people from traveling, reduced our carbon footprint, and he was dreaming these things up when the rest of us were still writing hard copy memos.
For almost my entire career, I've been looked to as a person to bring imagination and new ideas forward. I get particular thrill out of presenting the new ideas and then collecting all of the comments about how those ideas are impossible, only to find a way to return to the same audiences later and demonstrate the solution and show the viability and then move forward to implement it. And I think the rewarding part of that is to see that having those ideas put in motion and made real, it's made an improvement in government operations, and that translates into an improvement for the public.
Peter Watkins has played a key role in leading the charge of BC Developer Exchange, where companies of all sizes can come together and work together in coordination with each other in order to support the BC government and provide not only cost-effective solutions, but use agile methodologies to bring solutions to the problem faster to the market. Peter was able to lead from the front and foster an environment of collaboration for all different companies of all different sizes. With BC Developer Exchange, and what Peter was able to do was really fast forward how procurement can happen and how different companies of different sizes can play on an even playing field.
When I arrived in government, I was really struck with how separate everything was. There was a day where at the peak, we were running 14 different electronic mail systems in the government. You could not send an email note to all employees. And so I and my colleagues, we had a look at the situation and we thought, you know, we need to become a single enterprise.
If you go to the big tech firms, you go into the innovation lab at IBM, you go to Microsoft, you go to Amazon, you go to Google, you'll find lots of Peters. But what makes Peter really special is he has the heart and soul of a public servant. Peter has a leadership style that starts with how much and how deeply he cares about people. Peter is constantly thinking about where are we going to be in 5 years and in 10 years? And you know, to say that he's an architect of the future is not just a fanciful saying. He truly is somebody who's architecting the future and thinking about the legacy he will leave for British Columbia.
Peter's greatest quality, in my opinion, is his ability to lead from the front and really exhibit a lot of passion when he's talking about it and when he's leading a certain initiative. He doesn't always look for credit, he doesn't really look for recognition. What he looks for is continuous change, continuous positive change, and to change the way public sector is looking and approaching providing services to the citizens of British Columbia.
You know, one of the really interesting things about information technology is how fast-moving it is. You know, the IDER infrastructure, the BC eID infrastructure, the BC Services Card program, BC Developers Exchange. In the technology space, you know, even when you're creating it, it's not forever. it's gonna come to an end. There'll be another. And you know, that's what I and my colleagues we find so exciting, is that it's this evergreen, always moving, always advancing kind of aspect. And our careers are about infusing the public service with that energy and that potential.
And it is my honor to award Legacy this year to Peter Watkins. Peter is also being inducted into the Hall of Excellence. Congratulations to Peter Watkins.
Hi, my name is Kevin Jardine. I'm the Deputy Minister with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy. As a member of the Environmental Assessment Revitalization Project that received last year's Premier's Award, I'm pleased to introduce this year's Organizational Excellence category. The Premier's Award for Organizational Excellence recognizes one or more public service organizations that have delivered a program, service, or initiative resulting in substantial benefits to their organization, the public service, or citizens of BC. It's now my honor to present the 2020 Premier's Award finalist in Organizational Excellence.
The employer health tax is an employer-paid tax which is based on employee remuneration, and it's applied on the calendar year. It was one of the key requirements to the elimination of MSP premiums. This was a significant undertaking. The EHT was announced in Budget 2018 for implementation in January of 2019, and we were able to draft legislation, design the administrative processes, and build the system in that 10 months.
We knew what the policy was of the employer health tax. What we didn't know was, the little things of how are we going to calculate interest, how are we going to deal with associated companies, how are we going to deal with amalgamations, and those little items affect legislation. The legislation affects the administrative process. The administrative process affects the online build.
Well, one of the things that really impressed me about the income taxation branch and working on the employer's health tax was right out of the gate, their collaboration and their involvement with the various other stakeholders. They were eager to get their feedback and their recommendations about how best to craft a message for this specific audience.
When the Canadian Payroll Association was made aware of the notice posted by the Ministry of Finance on the budget changes for employer health tax, we immediately engaged the ministry as an impacted stakeholder, representing employers, payroll professionals, and payroll service and software providers. The ministry was very responsive to clarifying questions from the Canadian Payroll Association. We were very pleased that the government accepted 3 of our 4 recommendations. So that's one of the things that we really appreciated in terms of working and how it's impacted the employer community and the implementation and how successful it was as well.
The employer health tax is considered successful because of the significant rate of voluntary compliance. We had over 94% compliance at the outset, and that speaks to the effectiveness of the implementation and the significant outreach that we did to taxpayers.
At some points, we were going to have to make turns, and we were able to negotiate those turns because of the fact that we had a large skill set within the branch. And I think that's one thing that the income taxation branch really adds to this project. So the team understood their roles, they were good at their roles, they didn't need a lot of follow-up, and they came through and understood the time pressures. And I think that was one of the reasons that it was a successful project, is that everybody knew what their job was and did their job and did it as fast as we could.
The purpose of the Rapid Response to Homelessness Initiative was to provide a tool to enable the province to respond really quickly in cases where we were seeing a congregation of homeless people. And as we moved to take people out of the camp and put them into homes, we found that we were really constrained by the availability of housing. And typically a home takes maybe 2 years to build. So we wanted to find a way to be able to respond quickly when we were seeing congregations of homeless people.
In 2017, the provincial government announced the Rapid Response to Homelessness program. The key difference about the Rapid Response to Homelessness program compared to our other programs is that we need to provide housing quickly. And so we utilized an innovative form of construction known as modular construction to develop this housing. Modular construction is all about taking the components of a building and breaking them down into Lego blocks. We took the designs of these buildings and broke them down into a Lego block that included a suite, a piece of corridor, and then another suite as well.
So here we have one of our suites that happens to be available right now. As you can see, this is a studio suite. Comes furnished with a bed and a small table and chair.
When we think about brick and mortar and when we operate homeless shelters that are often, well, we turn people away every night. To think that we can produce 600 units of self-contained, your own bathroom, your own kitchenette, and move humans directly from under a bridge, from in a wooded area, indoors. For the people who come and live in these spaces and places, it is transformative.
The Rapid Response to Homelessness program is all about partnerships. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing partnered with municipalities to provide land for these developments. In addition to the partnerships with municipalities, the Ministry of Housing also leveraged their partnerships with the nonprofit sector to operate these buildings and with the health authority to provide wraparound services for the tenants.
In the case of the temporary modulars, on this incredible project that after a decade of working in Vancouver in homeless shelters and elsewhere, seeing 600 people go inside, that population addressed locally homeless people who lived in this community already, were community members, were neighbors, and moved them indoors. The only shift in the population this served and this met was that they had a roof over their head.
I think the citizens of BC benefit from a program like this when they know that the most marginalized people in their community have someplace to go, that they're not having to sleep in doorways or in parks or park benches, that there's a safe place for people to go, and knowing that their safety net is there to provide for those really marginalized people.
The purpose for a River Forecast Center is really to have that dependability behind the scenes on all the different intricacies of the river system in BC. They're there to let emergency managers know when and if there's a threat that brings the risk up of flooding, or in the case of drought, you know, the kind of continued drought where that's going to affect agriculture or fish populations in lower streams.
We collaborate very closely with the River Forecast Center during the freshet season. It starts in about the middle of March by looking at the BC Emergency Flood Plan, collaborating on the emerging conditions and getting a read on the amount of snow that is available to melt that's going to feed the drainage systems that could lead to flooding around the province. We then take that information, make sure that communities are aware of those emerging conditions, and then we can all collaborate together, both as a province, but as a local government, First Nations, to make sure that we are making the adequate preparations to keep people safe.
The River Forecast Center faced a number of challenges. They were reliant on manual processes, and their forecasting ability was really limited to only the Fraser River. And we noticed that there were either flood conditions or water supply issues in other areas of the province. To improve that, they had to deal with how to get data from different partners, and then also how do they communicate that out to the public. So they had to create new means for analysis and publishing it to communicate the results.
So the River Forecast Center impacts the way that the Meteorological Service of Canada works, because we have now a multi-year relationship with them as partners. We look at weather together and we look at the rivers together, and we can cross-pollinate what each agency is saying. Each member brings something different, whether it's the model expertise, ArcGIS tools, the amazing type of briefing packages they can put together. Then you can tighten your message up and have a little bit more certainty on, you know, what it is we're talking about. Is it just going to be a high stream flow advisory? It's going to be elevated to a flood watch or even a flood warning?
I think the River Forecast Center does a tremendous job in terms of providing that timely forecasting. It's better to be prepared than under-prepared. And so I think that they've done a really fantastic job to let people know what could emerge, but also what the likelihoods are of those. Their reports are accurate, and they've really become the reliable source, the foremost source for that information that's key to the preparations that we need to protect our communities.
And the Premier's Awards for Organizational Excellence goes to, it's a tie. River Forecast Center Business Transformation from the Ministry of Forest, Lands and Natural Resource Operations and Rural Development, and the Rapid Response to Homelessness from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Congratulations to both of you. I also want to acknowledge the other finalists, the Employer Health Tax Implementation Team, which was, I expect, from the Ministry of Finance.
Now we will move on to our second Legacy Award recipient, Shirley Lipman. This is a well-deserved honor. Congratulations, Shirley.
It's been quite a career. I started with MCFD in 1989. I was always interested in social work. I was probably one of those odd people that knew when I was 17 what I wanted to do. And so that led me to social work. And I started out with family service and child protection. My own personal values, I think, drive a lot of what I do. When I meet with families, if they're coming to me with some concern, even as a team leader or now as a director, I always want them to have a picture of their child that we put in the center of the table.
So working with Shirley has been a very positive experience for our organization because we've had such a strong partnership and such a respectful partnership. We've been able to focus solely on the children, and we've been able to see the change in the children's lives and in the families' lives that wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the resources and the support from the ministry. She is an individual with high integrity, and she really believes in the work that she's doing.
Fairly early when I started down here in Surrey, my caseload was children that were all medically fragile. Two of the early things I worked on, one was getting oximeters for children in care, so that was something they could use, so that in the middle of the night, if a foster parent was concerned a child didn't have enough oxygen, they could test their blood oxygen level at home. And then I also really worked early on to try to get nursing support into foster homes, because again, children that came into care through our programs needed nursing support but didn't have it.
One of the things that I've always been impressed about is Shirley's creativity. So she often thinks outside the box. And how are the ways we can tackle an issue? There was one time when we were looking at a lack of services to families in the community, and Shirley brought together all of our contracted service providers to brainstorm about, well, how could we do this differently? I think she is happy to partner with people and gain their knowledge and expertise. So I really appreciate her collaborative approach and really being open to new and innovative ideas.
She kind of reminds me of what we're all seeing in this unprecedented time of COVID around Dr. Bonnie Henry. Shirley's calm. She's soft-spoken, she's kind, and yet you know there's nothing fake about her. And so it's been such a pleasure to work with her. She's been such a champion for children and youth with special needs who then become eligible for Community Living BC. She's very concerned about Indigenous people, other ethnic cultures and groups that need to be treated with sensitivity and understanding, and there isn't a one-size-fits-all. So there's a personalization and a customization in everything that she does that is actually going to bring about the best outcomes for the youth in the care of the ministry.
I do a lot through my church. And it's funny because the volunteer things I do are very similar, like they're sort of social worky type of things. We do backpacks of school supplies for low-income families, and we do that both for families within our church, and we also have a connection with Big Brothers and Big Sisters in Langley. And you could help people at very grassroots, like how are they going to pay the rent? Do they have enough groceries? So those are the things that I work on. What I hope, if it's a legacy, is the importance of the vulnerable. And I hope I've raised just the value of the children. And then that we owe it to them to do our best. That's really important. MCFD is very driven by child protection and by other areas of the work. And trying to make sure that the people that I'm working with value the vulnerable, but know the work. And then from that, we move forward with what we're doing with families.
It is my honor to award Shirley Lipman. Congratulations, Shirley, for all of your outstanding work in the professional public service.
I am Louise Bouchard, Manager of Emergency Management and Business Continuity with the Ministry of Children and Family Development. As a member of the Mapping with Care team that received last year's Premier Awards for Innovation, I have the privilege to introduce this category. The Innovation category recognizes groups, teams, or organizations within the BC Public Service that have developed and transformed new ideas into tangible initiatives, programs, or projects. By applying a user-centric or citizen-centric approach, innovations may streamline business processes, leverage technology, or pursue creative solutions to fulfill organizational mandates. And now, I am honored to introduce the 2020 Premier's Awards finalists for innovation.
The Elephant Hill wildfire was in the summer of 2017. It was a large fire that burned extremely hot. One of the results of that is that all the organic matter in the soil basically gets vaporized by the heat of the fire. So when it rains on that hydrophobic soil, the water just runs off. And when it runs off in intense rainfall events, it takes a lot of the soil with it, and you end up with these debris flow events.
On August 11th, 2018, a debris flow hit the highway. So we needed a plan that we could implement our protocols and track real-time data so that we could proactively close the highway and ensure the safety of the traveling public.
The solution was deemed to be to really monitor the rainfall in high resolution spatially, so a bunch of rain gauges distributed over a relatively small area, and measuring at short time intervals.
You can see all the erosion paths here from this debris slide here. The accuracy of the water gauges is absolutely critical. We're able to calibrate what kind of water flows that we see from the tipping gauges and the behavior of specific sites throughout the Elephant Hills area. And we can also see the effect on the culverts, the drainage systems.
The biggest problem we had was trying to identify where the worst problems were going to occur. So every creek was looked at, and then we had a lot of failures on the face units between the creeks because they're too steep, and there was some very intense rainfalls.
The most positive outcome is the use of the protocol and working with the engineers, the patrol staff in the field, the weather staff, the tracking, the review of the sites, and all the inputs in order to provide a really safe driving experience for the traveling public.
The most exciting outcome was seeing the science being applied in the real world. That's something we can go on the ground and we can make an identification of a problem, and we can take it through, and somebody can take that and apply it to public safety on the highways.
The monitoring and protocol is so important to the citizens of BC because our job is to ensure the safety of the traveling public. And so with these guidelines and real-time data collection, we're able to determine when the appropriate time is to close the highway proactively to ensure the safety of the public.
Robotic process automation tool is a tool that does repetitive tasks. One of the great things about RPA is it works 24 hours a day, so it's continually processing requests in an automated way.
The inspiration and issue that needed addressing was really, it came from a visit I did to staff when I was sitting with staff watching them work and spending a good chunk of time doing things that really didn't take the skill set that we were hiring people to actually use. And the bots now are able to do all of the computer work and let the humans do the human work.
The great thing about the bots is that they are able to evolve and be flexible in the areas that we need them to be. They're very responsive, and we've been able to move them around a number of times depending on our shifting needs. But none of that has been more apparent than during COVID, where we've seen our citizens' needs have changed. And we've been able to use the bots to support that.
It's a software package, and basically what it does is you sit down and you record a person doing the process, and it records every click, every keystroke, and then you use that information to basically build pathways. You don't have to be a coding programmer. You can do that based on using the software.
So here are bots hard at work processing third-party checks.
The greatest benefit of this program for the BC Public Service has been the time that it's given back to the employees in just retrieving data, and we've been able to reinvest that time back into programs that support our citizens directly in a holistic manner. And the feedback that we've gotten from people has been amazing because of the RPA project.
This project is really a game changer for the future of service delivery. I mean, we have deployed 4 bots in a very small program area, but the technology could be used in so many areas, not just in my division or in this ministry, but across government. And it frees up our staff time to do what they want to do and what they're best at, which is spending time interacting with our citizens and providing services.
One of the big benefits of this was the collaboration between 2 divisions. IT is not something that's separate from service delivery. In order to do that, we need to work together to do that and be partners, and that really means making sure that we're not seeing service delivery and technology as separate and distinct, but as 2 things that come together with a common goal.
My Family Services is a web-based application that provides online self-service options for the Affordable Child Care Benefit and autism funding. It really transformed the way we do business and changed the way clients interact with these programs.
We knew we needed a new way of delivering funding for families when in Budget 2018, government announced Childcare BC. And one of the big initiatives for Childcare BC was to deliver more affordable childcare to families.
You can see that there was almost 20,000 page view counts yesterday.
And a big way we were going to do that was to replace the old childcare subsidy program with a new affordable childcare benefit. And the old program was entirely paper-based. People had to find a fax machine to send in their form, and the applications were long and complicated. So we needed a new application.
The system was built to be client-centric. We allow people to submit applications and manage their services at their own convenience. So whether that's at home or when they're out, they can use a mobile phone, they can send messages and receive messages from ministry staff, they can send documents electronically, including taking pictures. And for the Affordable Child Care Benefit, they can estimate and apply for services online at their own convenience.
My Family Services actually takes advantage of newly provided government technology, in particular cloud services. Government had just established a new agreement and to enable cloud services, and so this is a big innovation. We were one of the first projects to take advantage of the new agreement and to employ cloud services for such a solution.
The My Family Service has a significant impact on the way we do business. First of all, the applications received for these programs are coming in correct the first time. We're also having it so there's no data entry when the information comes in, which allows us to get funding to our users faster. It's also cut down on call volumes, it's reduced paper and printing costs, and just streamlined our business process.
The impact of this technology has been fantastic. There's the many tens of thousands of British Columbians that are accessing the portal on a monthly basis, but there's also, improving the confidence and capability of government. We introduced a new platform that's now been used in several other applications, and so we're really happy that we kind of boosted the confidence and opened the door to allow this type of technology to be used in other ways.
One of the most impressive things about the development of this My Family Services application was the speed with which we had to do it. We had about 4 months from development of the initiative, knowing that we had to deliver this new program, and getting it out the door to families in time for September, when so many families need to sign up for childcare and make new childcare arrangements. An extraordinary example of efficient and focused work by the entire team.
And the Premier's Award for Innovation goes to Robotic Process Automation Tool from the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. Congratulations. I'd also like to acknowledge the finalists, My Family Services Self-Service Web Application, and Elephant Hill Debris Flow Monitoring and Operations Protocol.
My name is Linda Herman. I'm Manager of Service Delivery with Virtual Services Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. I was extremely honored to receive the Premier's Award for Leadership in 2019. The leadership category recognizes an employee as a role model and change agent for their ability to create, communicate, and implement a clear and compelling vision, involve, empower, and lead staff through times of change. Commitment to service delivery in exceeding the needs and expectations of internal or external clients create an environment of trust and teamwork that is client-centered, involving, empowering, and valuing staff. Using measurement, benchmarking, best practices, and innovative approaches, and achieving superior results. And now I'm pleased to present the 2020 Premier's Award finalists for leadership.
My role in my organization is the Communications Director for the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General. And in that role, I lead a team of communications professionals. We support the Minister's Office, the Deputy Minister's Office, our ministry. It's great. I love it. And my team is fantastic. A lot of jobs are 24/7. Ours truly are 24/7, all weekend long, all evening. It doesn't matter. When things are happening, we're on it.
Caroline leads by example all the way. She models her management style differently for every employee that she has. She's compassionate, she's humble, she's a hard worker. She just has all the really great qualities of a leader that a lot of people want to emulate in this organization.
What motivates me at work is to see my team energized. We're in a fast-paced world, and to see that energy go through the team as we work on a big project together and people smiling and hopping, and I want the day to feel like that. Those are the best days.
I think it's critical that people who have integrity follow through with their values and their mores. And Caroline, to me, always treated people equally. If you don't have people that you work with believe in you, then you just can't succeed as a leader. She had a larger vision, which as a leader I think is also very important. And she was able to communicate that. Without those qualities, people won't do their best to help you fulfill that that job that you have as a leader?
I came in here, funnily enough, at 42 years old, into communications and was a junior public affairs officer. So I started right at the bottom of the shop and moved through all the various positions. And so anybody that's on my team, I know what they've done. I've done those same jobs all through the years. It's time for me to mentor and teach the people that are working with me. And that's a huge responsibility for me, I feel, and a priority in the way I kind of run my days. It really helps to be able to speak to each person about all the same things we've experienced.
Caroline has a quiet, subtle approach to leadership. And it's like you don't realize that she's coaching you through the conversations you're having, but a year, 2 years down the road, you're like, hey, she was teaching me something there. In the sporting world, they say a great coach can be measured by the players that they once coached becoming coaches themselves. And for Caroline, you see the same thing. As a leader, you can see so many people that have worked for her that have now become managers, directors in the public service and beyond. And I think that's just a testament to how amazing she is.
Currently, I'm the Acting Director of Service for the Northwest Service Delivery Area for the Ministry of Children and Family. That area goes from Houston all the way to Haida Gwaii and north to Dease Lake and Atlin. So basically look after all services that our ministry delivers. So I've been with the ministry for 25 years now. You know, in the moment when we're interacting with families, it's not always positive in the type of work we do, but I think in the long run, when you can see some positive effects, and you know, our kids come back to the office once they're adults and want to thank their social workers, I think for me that's super rewarding.
One of the neat things about Phil is that it's not just about his work in the ministry. Phil's community work and his dedication to making kids' lives better, both in and outside of work, is what people need to know. Social work is hard, and what makes it easier is having good leadership. He can challenge you on sort of your day-to-day, but also challenge you to be able to do the best thing you can for either the child or the family that we're working with.
So one of the aspects of leadership that I really enjoy is building teams. So I do many things. I've been involved with many of the sports, coaching soccer, coaching football, also been a volunteer with a fire department for over 10 years. Anything to help out the community and projects and things like that.
For leadership in the fire hall, Phil's taken a role. We have a program with our junior firefighters, so it's anybody under the age of 16. Also, he does some of our training where he has a leadership and experience and that type of thing. I think the behind the scenes work is, to a small community like Vanderhoof, is really important because we could never afford full-time firefighters here in Vanderhoof or anything like that. So it's a great saving to the community and it's a needed cause.
What I see in Phil is not only does he does a great job of his work, Phil also cares about individuals' sports programs, but he also knows each individual child and they look to him for approval. Some people are leaders because they were elected to that position or they were appointed to that position. Other people are leaders because people come to them, and Phil's that type of guy.
To help families, you know, some of them there's some significant change that happen very quickly, but a lot of change takes time. So, you know, to be involved with people, and same with your staff, to see people grow and change over time, that's what's rewarding for me. Whether it's the families, the children, or even our staff that grow. And I mean, I've had many staff that started here as social workers, others become team leaders here or leaders in other communities, and you still see, I stay in touch with some of them and see they're still moving up through the ranks. So it's nice to see all that. That's why I stay.
Raymond's been impacting the clients of this ministry since he began his career as an EAW, whether it's been his time spent in direct service, providing that service as an individual, or to groups of people leading the Office of Homeless Coordination. He is somebody who has made it his career to do meaningful work. He enjoys leading a team of people to collaborate and work together to just try and make things better for the citizens of this province.
The work
I do is important to me because it makes a difference in people's lives. I have probably one of my most interesting and most difficult files, and that's around homelessness. It's a difficult problem to solve, and no ministry, even no one level of government, is going to solve that problem. And really what we're here for is to coordinate the response and to try to achieve better outcomes for those most vulnerable people in BC.
Raymond has so many strengths. He's got a vision, some strategic thinking skills that are really second to none, and it comes down to his compassion for clients. And when you see that he is passionate about what he's doing and why he does it, it just inspires other people to follow and do the same, and to try other things and take risks because you know he's got your back.
For me, I want an engaged workforce. I want people to want to come to work, to feel passion, to feel empowered, to feel like they're making a difference. The trust piece goes beyond just a work relationship a lot of times. It actually means that you have to take the time to listen to people, to hear people, and to be there for them.
Raymond has championed so many things through his, but what sticks in my mind, the overarching, I guess, theme is his belief in any social problem or issue. You have to get at the underlying cause, and you have to get at it to be able to address it, to be able to understand its impact. So homelessness is a great example. I've worked on various social problems. We're just talking about public health. He's a leader that really tries to get at how can I prevent by understanding the underlying causes. His leadership shines through by that paradigm.
I love sports. So I love skiing, backpacking, I love the outdoors, and I think we're privileged to work and play on these lands. And I love biking home. It's great exercise, it's green, it allows me to decompress after a hard day's work. Well, the impact I hope to make as a leader is really very simple, and it's to serve the citizens of BC. And it's one of the reasons that I love to be a public servant and work for the BC Public Service.
And the Premier's Award for Leadership goes to Philippe Turgeon from the Ministry of Children and Family Development. And I'd also like to acknowledge the finalists, Carolyn McAndrews and Raymond Fielch.
Hi, I'm James Mack, Assistant Deputy Minister with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy. Last year, while I was with the Ministry of Agriculture, we participated as one of the partner groups that worked on aquaculture in the Broughton Archipelago, an innovative reconciliation process, which took home last year's Premier's Award for Partnership. The Partnership Award recognizes multi-party initiatives within the BC Public Service and with the broader public sector. These partnerships include ventures with other levels of government, Indigenous communities, private sector organizations, and not-for-profit agencies. It's now my pleasure to introduce the 2020 Premier's Awards finalists for Partnership.
The main goals of the new Act were to make sure that we had a recognition of the basic human rights of Indigenous people in British Columbia and in Canada. And it was important for us also to find a new path forward for reconciliation with Indigenous peoples in British Columbia. We've had a long history, unfortunately, of conflict. It was time for us to find a more positive, constructive path forward and for us to be able to set that framework for reconciliation.
Honourable Speaker, it is truly a great honour to stand in this chamber alongside Indigenous leaders, elders and peoples as we introduce a bill together.
I believe that this legislation was needed because there aren't many laws, policies, practices that actually affirm the humanity of Indigenous people. What's so interesting about the approach that we took was to do so in such deep collaboration with Indigenous people, with Indigenous leadership and Indigenous legal experts. I think that that collaboration signifies the shift that we're trying to make through this legislation, that if it is about Indigenous people and for Indigenous people, that Indigenous people should do the leadership, should be responsible for that leadership. And that collaboration was so profound that it helped us create a better act.
What's unique about this act and compared to other provinces, first of all, we're the first. Many other provinces are looking to us and phoning us and asking us, how did we do it? Why did we do it? And what's the intent? And an important intent is to make sure that we've got a constructive path going forward. We can recognize the important history of Indigenous peoples and recognize the future that we can build together by working in partnership.
When we started this effort, this was part of every minister's mandate letter. It was part of a platform for a new government. Everybody's empowered to pursue this, but there was no pathway. The faith in our intentions is one thing, but the trust that we can find a way through together is something else. We had leadership at introduction who historically have been at odds with each other come to support this one piece together. I do believe the piece around trust is built on the doing the work that goes with the intentions. And I believe that everybody came together with this, and you can see that through the whole process of the legislation. It doesn't change anything overnight, but it does call for us to change things over time.
This new legislation was needed to make sure that we were building a constructive, positive foundation for moving forward. Indigenous people have a saying, nothing about us without us. And it's important, if we're going to really truly embody self-determination for Indigenous people, that they need to have a voice about their families, about their citizens, about their lands, and make sure that they are building things together with us.
A partnership with Indigenous nations across originally the northern part of the province and then the rest of the province arose around 2014, with many nations raising concerns about the landscape level cumulative effects of development. The concerns were about the nature of environmental impacts and needing to look at designing assessment projects, cumulative effects projects, and restoration projects together.
The three nations became involved with the collaborative stewardship framework because we felt that our territories were being overhunted. We wanted to end up at a shared decision-making place where we not only had a clear process on how we made decisions, but we had a clear process on how we shared information and how that information was used once it was shared.
The first thing I learned about this partnership was to trust, working with the province of BC. First Nations have a lot of trust issues with governments, and the main goals of the new approach were to find the science-based information that both levels of governments could trust, the First Nation government as well as the BC government.
We approached this new partnership by working with nations in regions. So we've, in total now, developed 9 forums where we have regional groupings of nations and deciding what was appropriate in the regions and what the nations really wanted to pursue as top priorities. So having those genuinely collaborative forums to make decisions together on the design and execution of the projects was what's made this initiative different.
Environmental stewardship to me means that when decision makers are making decisions on a major project or on a forestry application, for example, that they are using the best information available to make an informed decision. And that environmental stewardship looks at not only the economic benefits, but also the environmental impacts, and hopefully that a decision will result in net benefits across economic, social, and environmental aspects.
This partnership has made a huge difference in terms of especially dealing with industry. The main reason that our community became involved with the environmental stewardship framework was to provide data that explains in a scientific way the cumulative impacts that are affecting our people. They're hunting, they're fishing, they're gathering.
Our province sees a lot of conflict around natural resources issues. What's different about the Environmental Stewardship Initiative and the Collaborative Stewardship Forum is that we are trying to get ahead of those conflicts on what is the current state of our fish and wildlife, our water, and our air. It's a much different and more proactive approach, not reacting to conflict.
The heart of Together BC is the people that it's all about. Together BC is BC's first poverty reduction strategy, and it's the culmination of years of advocacy from stakeholders around the province, whether they're specific activists who work in poverty reduction or service providers who deliver services to people who are vulnerable. We started from this core principle of reducing poverty is about the people who are experiencing it, and then we worked out from there.
We needed multiple partners involved in the process because poverty is so complex. And it really is about making sure that we get the voices of everybody. We needed people who were actually living in poverty to actually express their concerns and what their lives were like. We needed people who worked with people living in poverty to try and mitigate the issues around what their lives were like. And we needed decision makers, people from local government, the province, and others.
The perspective and feedback that I was able to contribute to this committee is a couple of things. First of all, I do have lived experience myself growing up in poverty. I'm an Indigenous woman. With that background, I think that I was able to raise the issues and concerns and identify some priorities related to what Indigenous peoples in this province and in this country live with on a day-to-day basis when it comes to poverty and discrimination that unfortunately goes with that.
I am a single parent on disability assistance with 2 small children, and I am very excited about the brand new child opportunity benefit. There are a lot of parents who struggle when their children turn 6 years old and lose the BC benefit, and I am really excited that this new benefit is going to be good till children are 18, and I honestly think this is going to help meet the targets of reducing child poverty by 50%.
We have a framework that now lays out a path in terms of how government will need to focus on making some shifts in policy that affect people who live with poverty. Whereas before, I think it was being done on a piece-by-piece basis. That doesn't work. It's not effective to do it that way. You need to have a strong plan. You need to have a strong strategy that helps guide the work moving forward. And so that, to me, is the best thing about Together BC.
The biggest success was hearing directly from the people who live this experience. And we did that in a variety of ways, but the most important thing was making the space safe for people to come and share their stories. We provided stipends to allow people who are living in low income to access transportation to attend community meetings. We provided childcare for people with kids who wanted to participate in the meetings. We created this partnership that was so much bigger than an online engagement or a survey. The going out to the people is, I think, a model that should always be used.
And the Premier's Award for Partnership goes to Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, a collaborative legislative process from the Ministry of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation. Congratulations. I'd also like to acknowledge the finalists, Together BC and Collaborative Environmental Stewardship with First Nations.
As I mentioned earlier, the new Regional Impact category was introduced this year and celebrates individuals, teams, and projects with the same level of recognition as the other provincial categories. It replaces the former regional awards, including the regional awards ceremonies. Now let's take a look at this year's finalists.
We have 3 communities in our territory, Telegraph Creek,
Iskut, and Dease Lake, the three main communities in the Tahltan Territory. So we're about 94,000 square kilometers in the far northwest corner of the province, and some of the most remote regions the province has to offer. 2018 proved to be an extremely dry, hot summer. We had temperatures in the 40s for weeks on end, and it was extremely hot and dry. And a lightning storm on 31st of July sparked many fires throughout the region, and one of them being the Alkali Lake fire just 6 kilometers west of Telegraph Creek.
The fire, because of where we're located, because the number of fires that were on in BC that year, and because we have very limited resources in our region, the fire was not put out immediately. With the evacuation on August 6th, that night the fire burned through the community of Telegraph Creek. They lost 27 structures in community. The fire was still burning in the morning when firefighters went in and started fighting the fire.
Because we live in such a remote region, our communities are predominantly Tahltan members on and off reserve. So we work closely with community and regional districts and the province on a number of projects. So it's very easy for us to engage and become partners very quickly. Lucky enough, we had gone through some emergency management training a few months prior to this happening. Because of the training, which was so important that we kind of had the emergency management booklets and stuff laid out already.
This is probably, from what I understand, the first time that Indigenous nations worked in the same building on the same project with Emergency Management BC. We had regular daily meetings. We worked together really closely. Everyone knew what everybody else was doing. We were able to really pull together as a team.
I think the thing that we really want to do and have done since with Dease Lake, for example, the regional district and Tahltan have worked hard on doing a good fire smarting program and really preparing our communities and moving ahead together. Because when you have adversarial partnerships, things don't happen as well and quickly as they should. So working together is key to make sure that happens.
The Community Transition Program was developed in the late 90s as government's coordinated way of responding to major industry closures in rural communities. Typically, we have 1 or 2 community transition events in a year. Last year, because of market conditions, softwood lumber, and fiber supply, we had over 40 mills that were curtailed or closed.
So when there's a mill closure or a community transition event that happens in a community, we really look to the local government to take the lead and show us what they need. So we've worked with local governments in community transitions to help them provide job fairs, information sessions, town hall sessions, employment and retraining programs. As well, we work with them to help provide mental health supports in the communities. And basically anything that they identify as a need in response to the mill closure, we work to help support the workers and the local economic development.
So I went out and did a number of discussions, public discussions with our elected officials, public meetings to start bringing the community along so that they actually understand that there is a challenge above us. And as well that, the conversation that I've had with all of our elected officials is we're all here together to solve that problem with them. We came together on a number of economic diversification committees to bring folks together, along with stewardship committees as well, on what would a transformative natural resource sector look like and how can we move that piece forward. And then as well, I was extremely proud of our First Nation counterparts stepping into that role of not just kind of being leaders for their nations, but also leaders in the community, and it was nice to see.
I think that we've been able to serve the community really well through this community transition because being a resident, we have these relationships with the local agencies, with the local government. We're able to reach out immediately when we find out that there's a mill closure. Sometimes we're able to get information from contacts and networks we might have within the mills themselves. And so we're able to be a lot more responsive and speedy on the ground when we're providing a community transition response. Starting from a place where we already have a position of trust within the community, that it's not someone coming in from outside with outside ideas about what they need to be doing, but we're really looking to them to be their own leaders, and we want to empower them in being so.
We're very hopeful for our city, and we're hopeful that we will remain a forest-dependent community for generations yet to come. We have a forestry initiative process, a think tank process, and a forestry innovation center, so that if we do encounter any closures with respect to the existing traditional industry, we will be able to redirect that workforce into new emerging opportunities, both on the land base and in manufacturing.
Ferry-dependent communities are strong. They are resourceful and they are self-reliant. But what they need is a connection they can count on. The ferries that we serve often don't have a road alternative. So the ferry is the only connection to the community. It is their lifeline. The inland ferries are a provincial service that we deliver along with our private sector operators. And in the past few years, we've been revitalizing those assets, upgrading terminals and building new ships.
When we started, to develop the project, we had in mind, that these 4 cable ferries, will need to be assembled in remote, waterfront location. We fully anticipate that we will have, like a BC shipbuilders, and the vessel, new vessel will be designed and built in British Columbia.
We had a contractual obligation to build 4 cable ferries for the Ministry of Transportation, located in areas from as far away as Kamloops to Harrop down by Nelson. So it's been great for these communities. They benefited by getting reliable ferries that were larger than the existing ferries that they had. We also employed people from the local community while we were assembling the ferry to help us with welding if possible, painting, laboring, whatever we could do. We used as many local people as we could.
We're a fairly close-knit community. People rely on the ferry to go to work, go to school, for friends, visitors to come. It's something that we can take for granted until it's not there. The lasting impact will be that people have confidence. They know they're going to get on. They know that the ferry is running smoothly. I think people have a greater sense of pride in the community with the ferry being accessible, and it's been a breath of fresh air.
These ferries are scheduled to last for up to 60 years. We build them well, we design them so that they're simple to operate, and make them so that they're durable. And because it's not in salt water, you don't have the corrosiveness of the rust that would come from the coast.
Inland ferries deliver ferry service to Indigenous and cultural communities. They provide access to natural resources, and they allow visitors to get off the beaten path and explore some of BC's natural environment. And a project like this has a lasting effect. It'll be in place for generations. And that's fulfilling for, I think, the project team, and it's great for the communities because it means they have a connection they can rely on.
And the Premier's Award for Regional Impact goes to the 2019-20 Mill Closure Response from the Ministry of Forest, Lands, Natural Resource Operations, and Rural Development. And I also want to acknowledge the finalists, the Cable Ferries Replacement Project and the great work at the Tahltan Emergency Operations Center for the 2018 Wildfire Response and Recovery. Thanks to all of you for the great work that you've done.
We've now concluded the Premier's Innovation and Excellence Awards ceremony for 2020. Before I wrap up, thank you to everyone that contributed to this year's awards programs. Each year, hundreds of people are involved behind the scenes, including the nomination writers, ministry coordinators, video production teams, ceremony organizers, volunteers, and all of you who support the recognition of our finalists. The videos you saw will be available on the BC Public Service YouTube channel immediately after the ceremony. You will find a link on the At Work website. Please feel free to share them with family and friends and show them what a remarkable organization we are. Thank you to the Premier and special guests for taking the time to share in this recognition and celebration. And my thanks again to the judges and adjudicators for their contribution to this year's important program. Most importantly, I want to thank the nominees, finalists, and award recipients for your ongoing commitment to serving British Columbians. This event is another powerful reminder that much of the true spirit of public service rests within each of you. Thank you.
That concludes the Premier's Awards for this year. Although it's been different from last year and the year before, I'm not in a tuxedo, but I am wearing a tie. It doesn't take away from the extraordinary work the professional public service in British Columbia has done over the past 12 months. If it were up to me, everyone in the public service would be getting an award for extraordinary achievement during this most extraordinary of times. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart for what you've done for British Columbia. Let's make sure that 2021 is the best year ever. Haishka OCM. I want to thank you, first of all, by saying I'm going to read this, see what it says, and then we might do it again. What category is this? Evidence-based design. Okay, sure. We're going to have a great blooper reel this year. It's going to be fantastic.
Most importantly, I want to... Now you've done it.
And the Premier's Awards for Excellent Organization. Is my tie. Employers' health tax people were really in finance, weren't they? I hope I didn't wrap that up. It's almost like I understand government. Imagine that. Okay, I'm good for this one. Do you feelch like I do? That's a generational thing. Peter Frampton, thank you, bud. Appreciate that.
Thank you and good night. Oh, or afternoon, as the case might be.
Do I have that authority? Can I call an audible up here? I'm changing my mind. I believe... Wanamaker. I bet it was Wanamaker.
Haishka CM, CA and Aquilia. Once again, thank each of you. Would like to acknowledge and thank the province for allowing the local community to share in celebration of the nominees this year, and to congratulate those that were recognized throughout our province for the work that they've done in collaboration. In honor of that collaboration, would like to share a song that I composed several years ago for our Songhees Nation as we took on the initiative of building the Songhees Wellness Center. The teaching behind it is it took many hands and many community members to build that beautiful wellness center into where it is today. And that same collaboration and same spirit, my hope is that our public servants displayed through the work of not only being nominated, but being recognized for their achievements over the last year. So, Haishka CM, and this is the Lekwungen celebration song.
you.